Hi, my name's Chase Krieger, and this is my review of the book Voice Catchers for Marketing 4100. Three things that surprised me about the book was just the fact that everyone's voice is analogous to a fingerprint. And kind of what I mean by that is just the fact that they're able to use voice to pinpoint who we are, our current emotional state, and kind of what our current health is. This has like real world consequences because it allows companies to advertise and target you in a much more real time manner versus, say a broad, you know, we want 20 to 30-year-old males who live in Denver who like fitness. They're able to understand and target our real-time needs, which is just has some really profound effects. The second thing that kind of surprised me was just the fact that they're able to use voice enables kind of real-time customer profiling and to be able to predict emotions and customer sorting algorithms has some kind of real world consequences that almost feels like weaponized advertising to me. Um, if you're able to walk into a store, they're not able to immediately pinpoint who you are and what your income is, or what your kind of current emotional state is. I guess they kind of can figure that out through human intuition, but using voice as kind of a fingerprint, they're able to make decisions extremely quickly versus say like that human interaction. Um, I think the third thing that kind of surprised me about this book, um, that's not necessarily from the book, but was just kind of a reflection I had, which is just, how much of the things that I've bought aren't out of my own want and need, and were really just, targeted advertising at the correct moment in time when I had a certain emotion, or just good timing, etc. Um, how does this book kind of impact some of my favorite brands? I probably have two favorite brands, Apple and Amazon. They're both just highly functional businesses in my life for different reasons. Their individual views on privacy have made me really enjoy Apple and kind of despise Amazon. When interacting with companies, I'm kind of now asking myself, like, how are they tracking me? How are they marketing me? Are they using my voice? Um, you know, I genuinely have a lot of peace of mind knowing that Apple, the device that's in my pocket 24/7, isn't using my voice to try and sell me things. And alternatively, Amazon definitely is. I actually got rid of my Amazon Echo because of this book. It makes me feel like having one of those devices, that's using your voice just felt a little bit too weird, that's trying to sell you things. It really made me question how my voice is being used in my daily life and around my house, especially now that I have children and I'm making more money. Like, privacy is definitely a real concern, and kind of offering my child a world and a home where they're not being marketed to or targeted, seems really paramount. Um, One thing that did happen recently that I think is really interesting, just related to Apple, is I just had my first kid. I was going to the hospital a bunch. And when I opened up Apple Health the other day, it asked me to fill out a mental health questionnaire. And I can't help but wonder, the timing of that seems really suspect. I wonder if they were using my location and seeing that I was at the hospital a lot, over the last like 3 weeks. But yeah, like now I'm much more cognizant of those sort of notifications of where did they get this from that they know it about me. Like, is Apple Health listening to me? Like, did they hear me cry a bunch at the hospital? Like, why are they asking me this? So kind of an interesting side story. um, how could the brand that you've selected partner with potential customers in regards to their data collection and use to create contextual experiences? Okay, so Amazon, it would be really helpful if I was able to tell them, kind of what season of life that I'm in. So right now I just had a baby and I could really use fast shipping for baby items and for food. You could imagine a scenario in which, we have like an Amazon Echo that I could like throttle up and throttle down and have ChatGPT like conversations with, where I just say, what did I order yesterday, whether it was helpful, is there anything else that I could buy for the future. But I think the reason why I got rid of my Echo is because they were always listening and always kind of using my voice. So I think like the ability to kind of maybe like control or throttle this device would really need to be paramount. I'm not sure that they would ever do that, but I would be willing to kind of open myself up to being marketed to at different moments in time. Like, you could tell your Echo like, hey, I am having a barbecue on Saturday. Can you mention, a couple things that I might need, build a list for me, tell me the totals, and then you could have like a conversation where you say like, oh, I already own these things. Can you take those things off? Can you just go ahead and charge my Amex or whatever? Like that would be an extremely useful service. But I think the real thing is that I don't want to be advertised to for those things after the fact. I think like that's really where all of this is headed, is kind of real-time advertising, using people's voice in the moment, very targeted. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway, is that, advertising is changing from this kind of broad, like description of who you're trying to advertise to versus, very targeted. Hey, you're a new mom. Here's this thing that you need. I can hear it in your voice, that sort of thing. And then I think it clearly has a bunch of different implications for different industries. Like I already mentioned, healthcare. You could also see a scenario in which people are listening to customers within the retail shopping space. They brought up a bunch of examples in the book, but it's just really profound about how the voice is going to be targeted real time and, kind of fingerprinted, if you will. Thanks.